It's not goodbye forever, Marika, it's goodbye for now. I am Chris with the Joshi Wrestling Recap for TJPW April 17th, 2022, available on Wrestle Universe. TJPW said goodbye to Marika Kobashi. This was Marika Kobashi's final show with TJPW while she puts away wrestling for a while to focus on university. Marika did clarify she's not retiring though and does plan to come back to wrestling, but probably not for a few years. The term they use in Japanese wrestling when somebody leaves wrestling but doesn't want to shut the door on their career is called a graduation. So this was Marika Kobashi's graduation ceremony. The card also had fun matches in addition to the graduation ceremony, so let's get to it. This was a multi-camera show with no commentary. The Up girls sang and danced to start the show. The opening match was a tag match between Pom Harajuku with Yuki Aino versus a team of Free Wi-Fi, which is Hikari Noa and Naoka Kuda. This was a nice opening match, and I was pleasantly surprised by Pom Harajuku's role in the match. Pom usually just follows whoever she tags with, but in this match it felt like she was the leader for her team. Before the bell rang, Pom Harajuku asked the ref to check the corner pad in Free Wi-Fi's corner, because the last few weeks they had been removing it. The ref checked and the corner pad was secure. Free Wi-Fi mostly played by the rules this match. This match went back and forth a couple times, but for the back portion of the match, Pom Harajuku and Yuki Aino did a good job of isolating Hikari Noa. Pom Harajuku went for the palm to justice, but Hikari dodged and dropkicked Pom into the ropes. Naoka Kuda was waiting and necked Pom Harajuku onto the rope, and Hikari Noa got the victory with a bridging pin. The second match was a fun trios match. We had Miyu Yamashita, Yuki Arai, and Raku on one team versus Yuki Kamifuku, Rika Tatsumi, and Mihiru Kiru. The power of Yuki Kamifuku's eye pokes were on display in this match, and also their limitations were shown. Yuki Kamifuku went for the eye pokes early against Miyu Yamashita, but Miyu was ready and blocked and dodged the eye poke attempts. Raku was tagged in, and it was time for the Oshiyumi Express. Then Yuki Arai was tagged. Yuki Kamifuku went for the eye poke on Yuki Arai, but she was also ready and covered her eyes. But you can't wrestle with your eyes covered, so when she brought her hands down, Yuki Kamifuku immediately poked her in the eyes. A bit later, Mihiru Kiru and Rika Tatsumi had a fun interaction where even though they were on the same team, Rika didn't want to tag in and said Mihiru should stay in. This happened a couple times before Mihiru Kiru forcefully tagged her teammate Rika Tatsumi in. The ending of the match was pretty fun. Miyu Yamashita had Mihiru Kiru on her shoulders in position to hit the attitude adjustment, but Yuki Kamifuku walked into the ring, waved at Miyu, then poked her in the eyes, causing her to drop Mihiru Kiru. This setback to Miyu Yamashita was only temporary though, and she later got Mihiru Kiru up for the attitude adjustment with no interference this time to win the match. A fun trios match was followed by a fun tag team match. Current tag champions Yuki Sakazaki and Mizuki versus Maki Ito with Haruna Neko. The previous match was about eye pokes, this match was about Neko's scratch attacks. One of Mizuki's nicknames is the Popping Sugar Rabbit. Rabbits don't really like cats, so Mizuki's aggression towards Haruna Neko in this match makes some sense. Mizuki blocked Haruna Neko's attempts to scratch her multiple times and tried to stomp her claws. Haruna Neko was able to get her claws away from danger though and got a scratch attack to land. This frustrated Mizuki, so she got big, bared claws of her own and yelled at Haruna Neko, which stopped her in her tracks before Mizuki hit a crossbody and tagged in Yuka Sakazaki. Interactions like this are why I enjoy TJPW. The rest of the match is pretty even between both teams. Maki Ito took over the middle portion of the match for her team and had great exchanges with Mizuki. Mizuki and Maki Ito have a long history with each other, so when they are in the ring together it is usually great. Haruna Neko was tagged in after Maki Ito had worn down Mizuki, but Mizuki was able to tag in Yuka Sakazaki not too long after. Haruna Neko was not as strong as Yuka Sakazaki or as experienced in the ring, so she decided to see if spanning scratch attacks would work. It did not. After a rolling codebreaker attempt by Haruna Neko was intercepted, Yuka Sakazaki put Haruna Neko on her shoulders for a ride on the magical merry-go-round and slammed her down and got the pin. Another trios match was our fourth match, the team of Shoko Nakajima, Arusu Endo, and Suzumi versus the team of Hyper Misao, Moka Miyamoto, and Mia Watanabe. This match was a preview of the upcoming Princess to Princess title match between Shoko Nakajima and Hyper Misao, and there were a lot of Hyper Misao shenanigans in this match. To start, Hyper Misao and team attacked Shoko Nakajima before the bell, and Misao took the belt off Shoko Nakajima and posed with it. The ref took the belt, then the match started, but pretty quickly Hyper Misao sprayed Shoko Nakajima with cold spray in the face, then tagged in Miyu Watanabe. Hyper Misao's team had control of the match for the majority. Suzumi and Arisu Endo were able to keep their heads above water with their great dropkicks though. Suzumi's dropkicks always impress me. There was an accidental ref bump by Moko Miyamoto, and Hyper Misao took this opportunity to run in the ring and hit Shoko Nakajima in the head with their belt. The following pin attempt was broken up, but after taking so much punishment, Shoko tagged out and Arisu Endo came in. Arisu Endo has heart, and she really tried, but she didn't really stand a chance against Hyper Misao. A final cut from Hyper Misao got her the pinfall victory. Hyper Misao and Shoko Nakajima's title match next month should be pretty chaotic and bonkers. That brings us to the main event, a special 1 vs 20 handicap match between Marika Kobashi and the rest of the Tjpw roster. This match had a special 3 falls rule. I won't go over the whole match, but highlight a few things. The first falls match was pretty early and fun. Raku and Yuki Kamifuku got Marika Kobashi in position for the Oishimi Express, and the whole roster took part, then piled on to pin Marika. Later, when Mahiro Kira was tagged in, instead of her usual apology spot, she said thank you to Marika Kobashi, which was touching. And Yuki Kamifuku brought back the wet wipes from her previous feud with Marika Kobashi. Yuki Kamifuku used to try to wash the makeup off of Marika's face, but this time Marika Kobashi got the wet wipe and took the makeup off Yuki Kamifuku's face. There was also the obligatory stampede in the corner spot by the whole roster, where they took turns running into Kobashi, who was set up in the corner. They even forced the director/general manager to take a run, but Kobashi kicked him, hit an elbow drop, and then pinned him, but it didn't count because he wasn't legal in the match. The second fall of the match was a surprising submission by Riku to get the submission fall. The third fall had the most drama. Miyu Yamashita was in the ring and kicked Marika Kobashi down. Marika was spent and slow to get back up, crawled over to Miyu and hugged her. Miyu Yamashita got Marika up for the attitude adjustment, threw her down, and pinned her for the third fall. After the match, Miyu Yamashita gave Marika a bouquet of flowers, and Shoko Nakajima gave her a scrapbook along with speeches by both. Marika Kobashi got on the mic and said while she is done with Tjpw for now, she still wants to wrestle in the future. Streamers were thrown and covered Marika, then the roster came to the ring for a photo op. This was a less sad affair than the Nodoka Tenma retirement last month, but I still felt a pull at my heartstrings. I would recommend watching the trios match with Hyper Misao and Shoko Nakajima, along with the Marika Kobashi 1 vs 20 handicap match and graduation ceremony from this card. The next TJPW show is on the 23rd, but I don't think anything from the card has been announced yet. This has been the Joshi Wrestling Recap for TJPW April 17th, 2022. Thanks for listening.